Howdy, everyone, and welcome to the Crown to Spur podcast, where we cover everything in the Western industry, top to bottom, crown to spur. Rodeo queens, equestrian athletes, leaders in our community, and beyond. This podcast covers it all. I'm your favorite bougie vaquera, Kaelanne Quinonez, former Miss Rodeo USA, equine entrepreneur, and lover of all things Western. Come with me while we cover all these topics, top to bottom, crown to spur. Well, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast. Today, we'll be going over something that both rodeo queens and pageant queens have in common, and that is a platform. So, what is a platform? How do we use it? And why does it really make a difference? So, obviously, a platform itself is an idea or a concept that you want to promote and advocate for an entire year. It's an idea and a concept that not only can you rally around, but you can get other people to rally around and identify with as well. When you're in a queen position, that platform usually takes shape over the entire year of your reign. Some girls that start doing pageants from an early age will have a single platform that they carry through their pageant years from local to state to national and maybe even international level because it's just that important to them and it's just that impactful. Some girls will change their platform year to year to make it fresh and new and to be able to focus on another good cause. Generally, when you're filling out pageant application, they're going to ask you what your platform is, how you plan to execute it throughout your year, and that is going to look different from girl to girl. And how you plan to execute it and advocate for it will set you apart from your competitors and peers. If I remember correctly, I did not have a platform my first rodeo queen title, but it was at a local level. I don't think they asked in the interview, and I don't think it was a requirement either. And some local levels will do that. They won't have you have a platform. But if you're competing at the local level, it's good to have one because once you're there, if you decide to go for a state or regional title, then you'll probably need a platform. So it's just something good to think about, even if you're starting your rodeo queening journey. And if you follow queens on social media, a lot of times they will sign their posts with a little tagline that often refers back to their platform. I remember Kennedy Riggs, her year as Miss Rodeo America, her platform was Kicking Up Kindness, and so sometimes she would sign her social media posts with like Kicking Up Kindness slogan. And I believe that was actually something that her and her family had carried for quite a while. And so it was kind of like a legacy item at the time. Oftentimes at pageants as well, you'll have a platform speech, and then the judges will be able to ask you questions about your platform. So you really do have to know your platform inside and out. And the platform speeches are always really fun because you get to really know each girl and their personality through their platform. And you get to see what they're passionate about. It's probably one of the more unstructured portions of the pageant just because, there are so many rules that you have to follow when competing, right? But your platform is unique to you, and there's really no guidelines you have to follow when coming up with that platform. You won't get any points taken away if your platform is not on theme for that year. The 2 times I competed at Miss Rodeo USA, I have to say that listening to the platforms and hearing how the girls chose their platforms was one of my favorite parts because I really got to see the girls' personalities come through. We had platforms that pertained to reading and encouraging reading in children and advocating for farmers and like adopting and not shopping for dogs and animals. And we had girls with veteran platforms to support veterans and how agriculture can help with that. And we had girls advocating for research for specific diseases because those diseases had touched their family in one way or another. So even though it's probably one of the most personable and fun parts of the pageant, I know for me at least, it was one of the hardest things to do. And it was so hard to come up with it before the competition. And actually, my platform didn't really come to me until like several weeks before I was supposed to go on stage and give my platform speech. And it had been something that I had been marinating on for at least 1 year, if not more. And so, in my kind of type A brain, it was causing me agony because I felt so unprepared for this one very important portion of the competition. And this is kind of how you wrap up your identity when you're competing. And, I had been studying and focusing on the pageant for at least 2 years. And for me to still not have a platform, I was definitely freaking out. I was definitely freaking out. On top of that, you have to have like a catchy kind of slogan or catchphrase for your platform. And if anybody knows me, they will know that that is not my strong suit. Like, I'm just not witty, and I can't just come up with cute little anecdotes and things like that on the spot. I don't rhyme very well. It's just not in my wheelhouse of things that I think about a lot. And so, I feel like I'm a pretty good writer and I can come up with names pretty well and descriptions, but and I can compel to action but if you ask me to come up with a cute or quirky name, I cannot. I cannot. I would fail that portion of the marketing class. And even in business school, that was definitely not my strong suit, when we had to do marketing and create commercials or whatnot. I was not good at that whatsoever. I could put the stage lighting together, I could write a script, but if somebody had me come up with a slogan or a name, it's just out of my territory. Like, I try, but I just don't know how. And unfortunately, being cute and quirky like that kind of comes with pageantry. Pageants want you to be cute, quirky, funny, relatable. They don't want you to be completely serious. And I was like, well, okay, I could probably write a slogan if I was campaigning for like a political office, but cute and quirky, that's going to be a tough one for me. And it definitely broke me out of my comfort zone and made me really work for it and challenged me. And that's a good thing. I mean, titles are supposed to do that. But I always thought that pageants had that weird juxtaposition that they want you to be smart yet feminine and girly at the same time. They want you to be able to speak educated on important topics but not get too deep or too political. Like, it is a very fine line that they run. And honestly, I think my first year that I went to Miss Rodeo USA, I went in a little too hard and a little too serious. But I mean, what can you expect from a girl raised in a military family? I trained with the Marines and tried to go to officer candidate school, OCS, for 2.5 years. And then I worked as a cult starter. And so I feel like my background is very straightforward, no nonsense. And so that's kind of how I went into my first year at at Miss Rodeo USA, and maybe it was a little bit too intense, but that's okay. I learned, and we did better the next year. So yes, while your platform name is supposed to be kind of light and fun and memorable, the meaning behind it should have substance and a deeper message and even a call to action. And that's what good speeches and platforms have. They inform, they compel, and they have a call to action portion. Because you want your winners to be role models and leaders and people that the younger generation can look up to. And a great way to do that is with a compelling platform. And hopefully, if it's something that is near and dear to you, then it will not be hard to implement throughout your year or throughout your reign. If you force it or it gets lost in translation, a lot of time it can seem disingenuous. And that just promotes the negative stereotypes within the pageant community. Like, if you have your platform seem like you're charitable and you're virtuous, but it's really virtue signaling, then there's no substance behind it. And unfortunately, people can see that. And I've seen that, right? Where maybe a girl is a little bit younger and instead of having a platform she's really passionate about, um, it yeah, and even though she's really passionate about it, it may not be a completely formed thought or a perfectly packaged platform. Her mom decides to go with the perfectly packaged platform, but the daughter doesn't really care about it or doesn't remember what it is, and it just ends up looking bad, right? Like when your mom tried to do your science project in 6th grade for the exploding volcano, and then you go to the science class and you can't explain how it works because your mom built it, and then you're just like, it's that same kind of concept. And this is what we are trying to avoid. At the end of this podcast, we'll go through some tips on how to formulate your platform and put it together and package it nicely, along with actionable steps you can take to carry it out throughout your year. But please keep in mind that these are just some steps that I've used and some steps that I know work from literature or actually putting it into use. But at the end of the day, you have to find out what works for you. And I mean, even though I went through all of these steps myself, I seriously did not come up with my platform before, I think, like Christmas. I was visiting my parents back in California during Christmas break, and Christmas break is not that far away from the beginning of the pageant. It's maybe like 2 weeks, and I still didn't have my platform. And I was kind of freaking out. I knew I could write a speech and memorize it within 2 weeks, but again, that falls back into that category of being disingenuous and not really caring about what my platform was. And I didn't want to have to do that. I really wanted something concrete and something I could stand behind and be proud to put my name on. I didn't want to just slap something together on the paper for the sake of getting it done. And I don't really remember how it happened or how the conversation started, but all of a sudden, I just remember sitting at that kitchen table and being like, shh, don't talk to me for like 5 minutes. And I just got a piece of paper, got a pen, and just started writing furiously. And it just all spilled out of me. Like 10 minutes later, I was done. And I honestly didn't do a lot of revisions from that point on to where I actually spoke it. Like that was it. My first draft was my final draft. And that is how Keep Your Nose to the Grindstone and Eyes to the Rhinestones was born. If anybody's interested in actually hearing my speech, let me know down in the comments because I don't remember it right off the top of my head right now. I haven't said it in a year or so. Um, but let me know if you want to hear my speech. And leave those comments down leave those comments down below. Basically, my platform speech was written in 5 minutes, seemingly out of thin air. And again, I guess it wasn't thin air because I had been thinking about it for an entire year plus. But the concept itself really came in an unexpected way. Because basically all of the ideas that I had been throwing around were really not sticking, and I couldn't come up with a catchy name for my platform. I knew kind of what I wanted to talk about and how I wanted to relate it to my personal journey of being a first generation cowgirl and kind of my foray and fight into the Western industry, but nothing was really getting put together and sticking. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to go because I need a name, it needs a title, it needs something that I can, reference back to throughout the year, every year, the whole year. And even though there's no quote unquote award for your platform, at least I don't remember there being one, you still want it to be powerful and to resonate with judges and the people that are watching because they will attach it to your personal brand and identity during the pageant. And that is what is being scored, your brand. Now, there is a speech award, which I did not win. I believe that one of the girls that ran with me both years, I think she won speech both times. And that is over all of your memorized speeches, I do believe. Again, don't quote me, I haven't looked at the rule book in a while, but I believe it's over all of your speeches. And our platform speeches is one of those speeches, but your platform itself is not directly judged. But these pageants, nothing happens in a vacuum, right? Everything is related to each other. Your person and your platform and your brand needs to be as cohesive and as it can possibly be. So now after I've told you that story, how can you prepare for your own platform, whether that be a state, regional, or national level? It all starts with thinking ahead and brainstorming. Don't leave that part till the last minute because it will take some time to put together. This is something you're going to want to build your brand and your persona around during the pageant, if not beyond. Like my platform, I related it back to my clothes and my clothing descriptions, my social media posts, my impromptu answers harkened back to it. I really did make it a whole theme throughout the pageant and the weeks before as I was prepping for the pageant. So start thinking about it early. Start thinking about how you can incorporate your day-to-day or weekly actions back to your platform. I will always be a proponent of putting pen to paper, so do this in your brainstorming era. What makes you unique? What makes you special? What is a cause that you are super passionate about? Start brainstorming those things, and naturally you will find the topics that you can speak easier about, have more examples of, and that just feels right to you. And if you can't narrow it down to one right away, then create mini speeches for all of them. Write them down, write these speeches and see which comes easier to you, which ones flow more organically, and that will give you an idea of which topic you should go with. Poll your friends and family as well. I did this especially with the name of the platform because, again, I'm not good at those catchy little names. You can use AI, ChatGPT to help you come up with some catchy titles. I would not use ChatGPT to write your speech, and I know some people do that, but at least don't use it to write the whole thing. I know AI is becoming super involved in every part of our life and very popular, but there are still some things that need a human touch. So, you could use it here and there to help edit some sections. I mean, do that, but I've found that with AI and ChatGPT, it can come out sounding really generic and honestly quite flat. And so use it at your discretion, but I would say use it minimally. Now, you don't have to go as far as I did as like plan your outfits around your platform, but I would still incorporate your platform into the impromptu questions and answers that you have to do on stage at the pageant. I would still be posting about your platform prior to the actual pageant because, again, the judges and the boards and committees and fans are going to be looking at your social media. And if they kind of already associate you with that, then you'll be better off at the pageant. Now, I know some people don't want to do this ahead of time because they don't want their ideas taken or they don't want people to kind of like plagiarize off of them. And I understand. I understand that reason. And I feel like it was the same reason that I was told to bring a black garment bag for all of my clothes to Miss Rodeo USA so that nobody could see my outfits and maybe try to upstage them with different outfits or plan against them. Honestly, it didn't really matter for me because I basically had one outfit per event. I didn't have any backup outfits. So if a zipper broke that day or I was a little bit too bloated to fit into a skirt, I was SOL because I really only had one outfit for each event at the pageant. So that didn't particularly matter. But I understand where it's coming from because it is a competition and you've worked so hard for it all year and you don't want to chance any misstep or you don't want to chance someone being able to get the upper hand on you. But again, that's why I think having a platform that is unique to you is so important because that authenticity is going to show through. And if someone tries to replicate it, I promise you it's not going to be as good as the original. Like some people can fake it pretty well, but if you're genuinely excited about the topic, they're not going to have the stories that you have. They're not going to have the personal accounts that you have about this topic, you know? And all you can do is hope that the judges will see that, especially if you plan on running for something more than once. So let's say if you run at Texas and you're not sure you're going to win Texas and you know that you want to run again, if you don't win, then maybe it's a good idea to start that platform early and keep that platform if that is something that's really important to you. And then if you get asked that question, because I promise you, you most likely will, you can say, my intentions haven't changed from the last year. This is something that still holds true to my heart. It wasn't a topic that I chose on a whim. This is actually something that's really important to me. And, so coming back and running again for the title this year, it's something that I still think is important and I want to share with others. This shows that you were thoughtful and actually put time and effort and authenticity into your platform. Our next step is thinking about how you will implement your platform during your year. Judges and fans are going to want to see that you can do something tangible with your platform. So, I don't know, maybe don't have a platform that's about raising awareness for hunger in underprivileged individuals halfway across the world if you know that you're running a rodeo queen title that will not allow you to travel outside of your state or country or not allow you to really do anything with that platform, because how are you going to implement it throughout your year when most of your focus is on rodeo and the state or the nation that you're in? So unless you can be really, really creative with it, I would say maybe pocket that platform for another title. Like if you were running for Miss Universe or Miss America, where you'll actually be able to travel and do philanthropy across the globe. But you will have many ways which you can actually share your platform during your year. You'll probably have many school trips, hospital, VA visits that you'll have chances to speak at, and so on. So having a speech ready or a children's book about your platform that you can share and read aloud, these are great ways to spread awareness to your platform. Doing monthly social media posts about your platform and interviewing people that have a similar story to you or that accentuate the message of your platform is another great way to reach a larger audience. I know that I did a lot of speaking about my platform at every rodeo, rotary, school that I went to, but I also had cute little rhinestone trinkets that I gave out to schools and to assemblies and whatnot. And these were for people that answered questions or that I thought exemplified my platform. And again, because my platform was nose to the grindstone, eyes to the rhinestones, that rhinestone trinket was a physical reminder that these kids could achieve their dreams. And so when I gave them out during my year, it was that physical reminder and a continuation of my platform long after I left the building. News articles, blogs, podcasts are all great ways to get your platform out during your year. Find the people that align with your platform and make sure to incorporate them and seek them out during your year. And tell these things to the judges when they ask. So I know when this episode airs, it'll be a pretty new season for the Miss Rodeo America or the next Miss Rodeo USA. So hopefully you're all listening to this, and if you're planning to run next year, we'll start getting those wheels turning about your platform and about what you want to bring to the table at your next pageant. I know that finding the right words for my platform was a struggle until the very end, and I just put pen to paper and let the words flow. But it was the fact that I was able to actually think about it all year that allowed those words to flow so easily at the very end. So if you have any questions about your platform or maybe finding one that works for you, give me a shout out on social media, give me a DM, drop a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you have a platform that you've been using and you want to make some tweaks to it, that's also good because we can make tweaks and adjustments to make it more you and applicable for the times. Just remember, it's never too early to start advocating and educating on topics that you're passionate about. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today on this episode of the Crown to Spur podcast. If you haven't already, definitely give this podcast a like and a follow. Give this YouTube channel a like and a follow. And comment if you enjoyed today's episode. I love to hear from y'all in the comments, so let's get those discussions going. Follow me on all of my socials, Kaelanne Quinonez on Facebook and Bougie Vaquera on Instagram and TikTok. I'd love to hear your guys' platforms. So share your platforms down below if you want. Let's get ideas flowing for each other, for the people that are trying to find platforms. And let's share our platforms because at the end of the day, they are something that we are passionate about. So thank you very much again for liking this episode of today's podcast. And we will see you in the next episode where we cover everything in the Western industry, top to bottom, crown to spur.